Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight, joined by Broncos TV's Matt Boyer. What's up, man?
Oh, Ryan, I can't believe we made it to July. Training camp is this month. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting. Less than a month out. Very, very cool stuff. And again, that's assuming everything starts on time, which at least right now, that's what we're told. So, but coming into the season, of course, we're talking about the Broncos maybe taking a step forward. And when there is opportunities like that, you got to start talking about the players that you need to stay on the field to help you do that. Sports Illustrated, I thought, did kind of a cool article talking about the 5 players that the Broncos need to stay healthy, right? And I think you want all your players to stay healthy, but these are the players that most impact the outcome of the season. Drew Lock, I think every quarterback for every team is going to be the number one on that. But then the rest of the guys that they listed, Juwan James, Bryce Callahan, Von Miller, and Bradley Chubb. I think it's more interesting to talk about the other 4. And there is open debate on that. So I wanted to ask you if you could pick out your 4 guys outside of Drew Lock being the 5th guy, who would you take?
I think I share the opinion of Sports Illustrated, at least for half of that list. I also have Von Miller on there, just purely from the standpoint of offensive coaches have to prepare more for a guy like Von Miller than they would maybe the average outside linebacker. So he's on my list. Bryce Callahan, because of the depth of the position for the Broncos, I think we saw it last year with a couple guys going down, Callahan being one of them. I think he's got to be on that list. And then the other 2 that I thought deserved to be on the list were Courtland Sutton and Shelby Harris. Shelby Harris, especially, his experience is invaluable, especially with a lot of new guys, a lot of young guys along that defensive line. He's kind of that veteran leader along the defensive front. And then Courtland Sutton, remember a couple of years ago when the Broncos traded Demaryius Thomas in 2018, then Emmanuel Sanders got hurt. It was up to Sutton and Hamilton, especially late in the year in that 2018 season, to become the primary guys in the wide receiver room. Now, this year, the Broncos also have 2 very talented rookie wide receivers if Sutton were to go down. But as we recall in 2018, Hamilton and Sutton, it wasn't instantaneous that they became the guys in the wide receiver room. So for that reason, that steep learning curve that both Hamilton and Sutton faced, I think Sutton's got to be on that list.
I'm actually 100% with you. That's usually the one I had to sell. I talked about this on the radio show, and I dropped in Courtland Sutton as one of my 4, basically on the argument of, hey, you take wide receiver 1 off any team, and it's going to be a major impact. Everything else we have as far as the receiving core right now is all projection. We think they're going to be very good, but sometimes it takes rookie wide receivers, especially the young guys, a little bit of time. Courtland Sutton's another example of that, as you kind of pointed out. Takes a little bit of time, maybe a year or so, to really get into the fix of things there as a professional football player. So I'm 100% with you on Courtland Sutton. My other 3, I have Justin Simmons on that list. And I think you could kind of have Justin Simmons or Kareem Jackson. You could have a conversation really about either one of those. Kareem Jackson did miss a little bit of time last year, but Justin Simmons has been an Iron Man for this team. And the depth behind them, that always has to come up, right? Tre Marshall right now is the lone safety that we know of for sure, especially with Will Parks no longer with this team. So I think Justin Simmons being your all-pro has to be in that conversation. I have Von Miller on there, and like you sort of talked about, I mean, the strength of the defense starts with their pass rush. The depth of this team right now. We know what Malik Reed, Jeremiah Tachu, Justin Hollins, they kind of look like. I'm expecting steps forward for all of those guys. But again, it's no Von Miller or Bradley Chubb. So you have to include that. And then my final one was A.J. Bouye, because what we don't know what the secondary looks like is without a CB1. Last year, you had to cycle through a bunch of guys opposite Chris Harris as a result of injuries, as a result of performance. And look, I'm hoping Isaac Yiadom and Devontae Harris and Duke Dawson, Devontae Bosby, all these guys, Michael Ojemudia, I'm hoping all of these guys, and Bryce Callahan, as you mentioned, all of these guys take some steps forward, can help this team out. But at the same time, that's all in conjunction with having a true CB1. And if you lose your CB1, then you're basically throwing out there a bunch of 2s, 3s, and 4s and hoping they can become 1s. So that was kind of my argument. What did you think?
I think your argument is absolutely valid. You mentioned 2 of those guys, Callahan and Justin Simmons. The secondary for me is there's a lot of question marks. We had just alluded to the depth in the secondary. I think the safety position, you mentioned it, Tre Marshall. We haven't gotten to see him on a consistent basis. We don't really know how he would fit or what he would bring to the position on a consistent basis. So for that reason, I think your Justin Simmons point is a great one. And like we mentioned, Callahan, gosh, I hope we see him healthy this year because he's going to be called upon a lot, especially in a young and new DB room.
When I talked to Steve Atwater about this on the radio show, he brought up Alexander Johnson as one of his 4, and he also had offensive linemen. So I feel like I don't want to short those guys because, of course, the offensive line is massive. And I think the tough thing about the offensive line is there's just so many different guys, and we can kind of point to different reasons for. But Alexander Johnson, that would be pretty tough. It's not because Todd Davis mixed with whoever else would be a massive drop-off, but we don't really know what Justin Strnad is going to be. Josie Jewell had some injuries last year, and there was some performance stuff there too. And then you have Josh Watson. So, I mean, really, it is also kind of a mix of guys that you don't really know what you have.
Yeah, the youth there, especially we mentioned Josh Watson. I mean, we didn't really see much of Watson outside of special teams and the spot chance, the spot rep here and there. Strnad is definitely a guy who I think we could see years down the line really contribute. But again, probably the inside linebacker position is a position where we just alluded to the wide receiver spot. Inside linebacker, you're getting the play call a lot of the time. Not necessarily, we've seen in years past where Justin Simmons has played that role for this defense, but a lot of the times you're getting a lot of different information. You're having to make a lot of reads simultaneously. And can rookies or young guys who don't have that much experience play that role for an NFL team? It takes a unique skill set and a unique personality to fill that role.